All right. Welcome to the Cal Experience. In this show, I try to take seemingly complex ideas and break them into easily digestible bits that the average Joe can understand. I present my own ideas here, but I also encourage the crowd and the audience to kind of come up with their own ideas and then present them in the comment section. I would really love to hear them, and I think you guys would give me great feedback if you guys would go ahead and post your own ideas. Today, I have Riley with me. Is there anything you'd like to promote or say right now, Riley?
No, nothing right now. Just thank you for having me on the pod, and looking forward to the talks that we have.
All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right. So we're in the poem and quote analysis of the show. For those of you who have been with me from the start, you know, I love to do these because I feel they put us in a great kind of space to kind of look at some deeper topics. And I feel that poems and quotes kind of are easier ways to do that than just jumping straight in. So with that said, go ahead and start. So this quote is by Ruth Hubbard. It goes, "Every theory is a self-fulfilling prophecy that orders experience into the framework it provides." Do you have any initial thoughts or comments on that, Riley?
I want to hear yours first.
All right. So I happen to believe that this quote it's true, but to an extent it's not. I think that, you know, theories are just like assumptions about experience. And what happens is like, for example, and a good example, this would be like the scientific method where, you know, you got to kind of have that kind of saying that I'm wrong. And that's usually the hypothesis zero, I think it is I'm wrong. So I think that that's a great way. And I think this is kind of a good way of using the scientific method in a method, not a method, but in a way that is more palatable than just a science class. Because, you know, if you think of it like this, like if my theory is that all cops hate black people and I go somewhere, I'm gonna expect a cop, like I'm gonna expect the cop to behave a way that is negative towards black people, even if like he's not doing anything like that. I'm gonna expect it that way because I have a theory that says that's what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're looking for a red car, you're gonna see a red car. You know, if you're looking for bad cops, you're gonna find bad cops. I'm interested in the self-fulfilling part. Is it like an expectation that we have as our own, that it just reaffirms what we already thought?
And that's kind of what we get into today. The topic of today is self-fulfilling prophecies, and I thought it would be a great one, but I don't really want to jump too deep into that right now, just because I have a whole couple slides on it right now.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. Did you have anything else for this quote?
No, I mean it's an interesting quote just because it can be true if you don't check it. You know, you have to check it and make sure you're like you said, you know, am I wrong? Could I be wrong? If I'm wrong, how am I wrong? And how do I not be wrong anymore? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely agree with what you were saying. Like, because like I was saying, you could have the worst theory in the world about how you think life's gonna go. And if you just believe that to be true, that's probably what you'll end up experiencing. But you could also change that to have like the best theory. And, you know, if you think that that's what's going to happen, you could have the best time of your life too. So it's just kind of something where you got to pay attention to what you think you want and what you're actually seeing.
Right.
But if that's all for this quote, we'll go ahead and move on. All right. This one's kind of similar to the last one. Whether you think you can or can't, either way, you're right. By Henry Ford. For those of you who don't know Henry Ford, he started the Ford car company way back when, before I was born, before my parents were probably even born. But do you have anything for this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big one for me. I pretty much preach this to my friends all the time, because I'll hear, you know, you can't, or I can't, or I can, and it just goes to show what a good mindset can do for yourself, you know, like how much you're capable of. You know, if you constantly saying that you can't do something, chances are you're right. I mean, 100% of the time, if you say you can't, then you can't.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the best part about it is trying something, you know, trying to do something. At least then you know. But if just you're just assuming I can't do this off the jump, then you're you know, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah, that is a great quote you just said there. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and I definitely think that goes like hand in hand with this one. I kind of have an example that kind of exemplifies this. So back when I was in high school and in track, I was always afraid of like, because I'm a high jumper. So you know, once that bar starts getting higher and higher, it becomes a little more daunting. And um, anyway, what my coach would do for me was he would tell me that the bar was at a way lower height than what it was at, and I would go jump and think it was that height, and I would be able to get over it, even though he would say it was like 5'8", but it'd be like 6'2". So like,
Right.
I didn't believe in my mind that I could do 6'2", just because like I'm only 6 foot tall. How am I gonna get over? How am I gonna get my hips over my head? You know, that's usually my whole thing. But like
Right.
once you think you have something and you think that you have it at a certain point, like I thought it was at 5'8", so I was like, oh, I can get over this easy. And well, what do you know? I got over it. So, you know, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you know, you probably won't even try the jump. You won't even approach.
Exactly. And then like in basketball, because I played basketball, it's like if you think before you take the shot that it's not going in, then you probably shouldn't even take the shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Basketball.
what I'm saying? So you gotta have that. You gotta be able to have the confidence, be like, I can make this, to even take the shot in the first place.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know. That's just, you know, you can translate that into life in any way possible, any way you want to, you know?
Yeah.
So
That I honestly feel so, I don't know if blessed is the right word, but I feel fortunate in that I was able to do like high school sports and really apply myself there, because it's a lot of trial and error. And, you know, it's stuff like this that, you know, if I think that I have the ability to try something, my results will be way better than if I think I have no aptitude at all, you know?
right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good one. Do you have anything else for this quote?
I would just say, you know, make sure as a listener, as a viewer of this show, if you're watching it, just make sure you know, you check yourself and your self-talk. If you're always in your mind being like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm no good at this, well then you're right. But if you're saying, you know, there's a chance I can get this done, or who knows, maybe I'll surprise somebody, you know, then you're more likely to be able to do those things that you're speaking on. And I don't know, I just try to keep a mindset of that throughout life.
Yeah, and definitely staying positive is definitely like staying positive, I'd say, is 50% of the battle at least, because
Yeah.
if you come in positive, you have a way better like chance than you do if you come in like, oh, I have no fucking chance.
Right.
I could say
Absolutely.
that experience.
No, I agree. And a lot of it is like, you'll have, being positive is also more of like a mental health thing than it is a success thing, you know?
Yeah.
If you're constantly looking down on yourself or your situation, no matter what, you're going to have that anxiety, that depression and stuff holding you down. Whereas if you're like, you know what, it could be worse, I'm going to make the best of what I can, you're more likely to be like in the moment and, you know, living and working towards something than just sitting there thinking about what could be.
Yeah.
I think that grass is always,
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
well, I was just going to say, and that grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
It always looks greener. It always looks greener.
I was gonna say, I really liked how you said be in the moment and like out of your thoughts. Cause I don't have anything on this slide or presentation for like being in the moment, but I know that's definitely a very big part, because you can't be two places at once. You can't be thinking about something and doing it at the same time. So like,
right,
you got to be able to like just step away from your thoughts and just be focused and present where you're at. And I think
I
this,
agree.
I didn't think this would kind of lead to that, but it definitely does apply there.
Oh yeah, I agree. And then like just being in the moment just allows you to relax a little bit, you know? And like, so if you're in the moment and you're positive, you enjoy things more, you relax more, and then it's like a cycle. You just keep building that positive energy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
I can't wait till we get into this stuff, bro, because this is so, like, I didn't think these quotes and stuff would be so good, but this is really good right now. I'm sorry. Do you have anything else for this one?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. All right. So this is a quote by Greg Brayton. He says, "The power of our beliefs can work in either direction to becoming life affirming or life denying."
The same stuff we were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. The exact same stuff. Like, you can either affirm the life you're living and try to make the best of it, or you can deny it and say that you care more about the next life than you do this one. And so kind of life affirming and life denying goes back to Friedrich Nietzsche for me, because he believed that the views of Christianity were life denying because they denied this life for the life of the afterlife. And he believes that we should be life affirming because through the life denying lens of things, it's really hard to like go through tough times, because why would you worry about the tough times here if, you know, if you die, you're just going to go to heaven and everything's going to be great. But like, that's not life affirming, because you're not worried about the life you're living, you're worried about the next one. But
Right.
You want to have as much life affirming stuff as you can, because it makes it a lot easier to kind of manage and handle all the kinds of stresses that come along with being a human. If that
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
no, it's interesting because so like what you're saying is basically by worrying about what I'm doing in the next life or how I'm treated or how I'm judged, or you know, you're by doing that you're not living this life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're denying it pretty much.
Yeah. I think going through life, um, you know, you're gonna get what your mindset is, right? So if you think that this is such a terrible, terrible world and that the next world is gonna be great, don't get me wrong, it could be. The next life could be great. But this one is also great if you allow it to be.
Yes. Yes.
And that's kind of how I choose to see things.
Yep.
Especially towards like, you know, having fun. Because I have pressure to build something, right? Like to create, to provide, all of that. That's important. But
Yeah.
if that's all my life is, then you have fun in there too, you know? Good fun, not like harmful fun or, you know, anything like that. Nothing evil, but it's still good to sit down and enjoy life every once in a while. It's about balance.
100%. One more thing I was thinking about with the life affirming or life denying stuff, and it might be beyond the scope of this video. So I'm sorry for the viewers at home if this doesn't really make very much sense. But what Nietzsche ultimately ended up saying was that science is a form of like Christianity, because it denies the part of our world that we don't think is worthy of measurement. So uh, what's the easiest way to put this? So like life or Christianity values the afterlife over than our current life, while science values what we believe to be true over what we experience, which is life denying in its own, because it is you're saying that the things that we experience that we can't answer scientifically aren't real. But that's not the case, because if you feel it, then if you feel it, you see it, and it happens to you, then it's a real thing to you. And
So is there like an example you could provide?
um I mean, I should be able to do it for anything. So let's say I think this cup is magical and science says it's not. And when I use this cup, magical things happen, but science says that's impossible. But when I do the cup, it's really magical. And like I
Okay.
experience it as magical. So
I hear
that's
you.
You know what I'm saying? So then that's science denying the life that I'm experiencing right now. And that can be used for like, um, let's say,
So
oh, okay.
I got you, bro. I got you. So it's like some people use crystals to gain energy, right? Like
Yeah.
certain crystals. And like science don't necessarily prove that. And yet there are people that will go to their grave and say, like, look, this crystal's for real.
Yeah.
I meditate with this crystal, you know, I gain energy from it. It helps me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But scientifically, it's like,
Is it repeatable? Yeah.
right. Is everybody going to experience it? Is it repeatable? Is it testable? No. You know?
But does that make it any less true for the person who experienced it?
Exactly. And it's interesting because the way we experience the universe, every individual is the universe, but it's every individual is seeing the universe in a different way.
Yes.
So that's how I feel it. Everybody is the universe, but they're experiencing the universe in different ways. And that's, you know, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It might be beyond the scope of this one just because of how, like, what would be a good term for this? Like how dynamic the topic is. Because like, we could go on for the rest of the day just talking about like this stuff.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to cut it off here just because we got a whole bunch of stuff today still. Did you have anything else for this one?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we're here at the main topic, self-fulfilling prophecies. I'm really excited for this one because I feel that a lot of the world that we experience is through like our beliefs, and our beliefs can change. So you can change the way you experience the world if you change what you believe. And I think that a lot of people might be believing things that are negative about themselves and their experience, that if they just change the way they look at it, it wouldn't be so bad. And I think that hopefully my hope here is that I can maybe change some people's thoughts on the way they think of things, and maybe the world will be a better place. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Okay, self-fulfilling prophecies. So a self-fulfilling prophecy is the phenomenon of someone predicting or expecting something, and this prediction or expectation coming true because this person believes it will, and the person's behaviors aligning to fulfill this belief. This suggests that people's beliefs influence their actions, and the principle behind this phenomenon is that people create consequences regarding people or events based on previous knowledge of the subject. Do you have anything or any comments or questions for this one?
Yeah. So I will put this in another term that people hear a lot. It's called manifestation.
Yeah.
It's you manifest something by first believing it, and because you believe it, then you align yourself energetically with what it takes to attain that goal or action or whatever. And then because you aligned yourself with that, the action then becomes true.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big part of success in terms of your own view of success. You know, whatever success is to you, that's a big part of it, is manifestation and self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And I think this kind of picture I have over here kind of explains what you were just saying a little bit for the people at home who are having a problem visualizing it. So you would start with a belief about the future, be it positive or negative. Then because you have that belief, you take actions because you have it. So like, let's say you believe that it's going to rain today, but it's super sunny. So you bring a raincoat, rain jacket, and everything because you believe that it's about to rain. And the result of those actions will either confirm or deny the original belief. And let's say you think it's going to rain, you prepare for rain, it doesn't rain. Then you're going to not believe believe whatever method you use to attain that belief in the future, or you're going to be more likely to believe the method you use to attain that belief more, depending on whether it was right or wrong. But I get into that a little bit more deeper in the next slide if you're ready to move on.
I'm good.
All right. Okay, let me move this over here. Okay, so this is a kind of case study I had kind of studied into just for the sake of like adding a little bit more science to this, because I feel like a lot of it is me just kind of talking, and I feel like a lot people would benefit more from a scientific point of view, more scientific point of view, I would say. So this is from the paper Regulation for the Sake of Appearance. It's originally a paper on banks and how they try to regulate their image to the public for the sake of like appearing like a good bank. But these things also apply to like our everyday life. So to begin, there are 3 factors within an environment that can come together to influence the likelihood of a self-fulfilling belief becoming a reality. And I'll say self-fulfilling belief / manifestation because what you were saying was spot on. So there is appearance, perception, and belief. So we'll start with appearance. Looks are not always deceiving. Under certain under certain conditions, an initial appearance will facilitate the emergence of a corresponding reality over time. These self-fulfilling prophecies can arise in banking, dating, democracy, and elsewhere. For example, let's say you were faced with the appearance of your girlfriend's texting someone. Now you can say that she's texting another guy, and then you act all insecure, and then she doesn't feel as strongly with you, and then she does start texting another guy. And then that kind of becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy or manifestation. Or you could say, for a bank, you want to look like you have a ton of money. So you make it look like you have a ton of money, make your place look fucking gorgeous, and then a bunch of people donate or put their money in your bank, and then you have a ton of money. Dating, banking, democracy. I don't really have a good example for democracy. I guess I could say like, it looks like it's a fair process, but it's like, no, that's not really a good one.
Just the idea of like manifesting like a good. So, for example, somebody's campaigning and they're promoting this, they're pushing this agenda.
Yeah.
People then, latch onto that, and then boom, it comes into fruition.
Yeah, because more people start believing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was actually an excellent example, Riley. Thank you for taking my slack up there.
You're good. That's what I'm here for.
So the next one is perception, and that is how you would interpret an appearance. My example here is me and John. So let's say John's a Vietnam vet. We can experience the same air horn appearance and perceive it completely differently. I can take it as a monthly tornado drill, and he can perceive it as like a real live like air raid. It's all based on like how you interpret the appearance.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Vietnam vet example was a pretty good one, just because like it's something that happens in every month, but like certain people won't experience it the same way.
We were at the NIU game the other day, and they played the national anthem, and then they let off these firecrackers. And this dude in front of me had to be a veteran. He jumped so bad. And like everybody else was just fine,
Everyone else thought it was a joke, but to him, like when you have that real experience, like that's just no joke, man.
Exactly.
And just because I work in a mental health unit, please try to be considerate of other people. Not everyone experiences everything the same way you do, so try to remember that. The third bullet point here is belief. For a given proposition about the world, appearance can be defined as a source for the perception of information that an observer considers relevant to forming a belief about a proposition. And this happens whether or not it's a good source of forming a well-justified belief or not. So like, let's say I see this water bottle here. So I think that JFK is going to be the next president. It doesn't matter whether it's a good source for belief, but like, it's still a source of belief. So like, whether you think it's a good source or not does not matter, and your brain does not care. But whatever you decide is relevant and important enough to kind of base beliefs and perceptions off of, that is kind of what you'll end up with as a belief, because you obviously think that's important, so you believe it more. But at the bottom here, I kind of wrapped it up in what I believed was like an easiest way to understand this. So it kind of goes what it looks like, how we interpret what it looks like, and then the thoughts and actions we do to match our initial assumption of what it looks like. So a good example of this would be like an angry black man. You could just take a regular black man and interpret him as angry and then act towards him in a like certain way, and then he'll get angry, and then bang, you have the self-fulfilling prophecy or manifestation.
Yep.
Do you have anything else for this slide?
I do not.
Okay. Just a side note, just because I kind of want to know, did you think that this was useful for the presentation, or do you think this was kind of just filler?
This part?
Yeah.
No, I like this. I think it definitely brought a different aspect to it, you know, with the examples we used for appearance and perception, and then the belief that, you know, my belief and how I was raised is different from how, you know, you were raised, or, you know, how your son's getting raised. You know, it's all going to be different. And so that's why for me, I just try to be as open to understanding as possible. That's like anything. I'm just like, I try to ask questions like, where are you coming from? Or, you know, in any type of topic where there's sensitivity, I just really try to come from a, I'm missing a word here, but an understanding point of view.
Yeah. I can definitely, especially with my job, I have to do that constantly because, you know, especially with people who are inpatient, like nobody wants to be inpatient, bro. Nobody, not one person. So like,
right.
You got to kind of understand they're already in a pissy mood because they're somewhere they don't want to be and they have no control over what's going to happen. So like, you just kind of have to understand that and understand that, hey, maybe they wouldn't act like this if they were not here, but because they are here and they have all these other things kind of compounding, you have to understand that, hey, it might just seem like a little thing to you, but it feels like a mountain to the other person. So you kind of have to take that into account.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have anything else for this slide, we'll go ahead and move on.
Yeah, overall, this was a good slide, I think.
All right. Well, that's awesome. All right. So the next slide is on outcomes and labeling. So a self-fulfilling prophecy can have either negative or positive outcomes. That one's kind of a gimme. The conversations and interactions you have with yourself and others play a significant role in establishing self-fulfilling beliefs, as well as impacting the labeling process. Establishing a label towards X or anything you want to put for X significantly impacts your beliefs and perceptions of that thing and influences you to establish a self-fulfilling prophecy. My example here is like, if, for example, you think someone's hot, anything they do will be hot. It does not matter. Or if you think someone's a loser or lame, you're going to think like, they could be doing the coolest shit ever, but they're going to be, no, that guy's lame as hell. I don't care.
Right.
And that label is so important because it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but like imagine like some kid in high school gets called a loser and now that's his label for his duration of high school. That's not going to be a very good thing for that person because not only does that have people like putting it on him that he's a loser, but then he has to take that in, and he doesn't get to because like we were saying on this slide, one of these slides, it doesn't matter whether it's a good source for forming a well justified belief or not. It's just you do it because that's what you're experiencing. So like you could say, or that'll be a good example here. Like you have to be the man for a basketball team. You're that guy now. So now people treat you differently because of that, and you treat other people differently because of the new status that you have. And then those interactions kind of solidify the status and solidify your belief in how you think you should act and how you think other people should act towards you.
It's interesting because of my mind was running when you were talking about this. And when you said loser, it made me think, you know, so he gets called a loser, right?
Yeah.
That's a perception from somebody else. But it's also, it has to be an interpretation from him within himself. He can either accept or deny it.
Yes.
And both of those themselves are manifestations.
Yep.
accepting or denying. Deny it, be like, nah, I'm not a loser, bro. And then boom, but if, and then here's where inner work comes into such play. You have to do a lot of inner work within yourself, because if you think you're a loser, or if you think that people are always going to treat you poorly, or, that's when you start getting really, that's when, like, it's like the red car thing. Then you're going to see it all the time.
Yeah. You're going to interpret things that aren't that way as that way.
As that way, because that's how you feel about yourself. And that's most actions of people are, most emotional reactions of people are just projecting.
Yeah, it's them trying to protect their ego or whatever they think.
Exactly. And it's projecting their feelings of why are you calling me a loser? But really it's I think I'm a loser. So what you said confirmed my belief.
And that I didn't like that. So now I need to correct them. Correct it.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
I just have a slide that kind of has a picture of it. Here it is. So here's I was gonna show this a little later. I think it's 3 slides from now, but here's the kind of graph that I thought was perfect and kind of really exemplified the whole presentation I have today. So our actions towards others impact others' beliefs about us, which cause others' actions towards us, which then reinforce our beliefs about ourselves, which influence our actions towards others, which impacts others' beliefs. And it's literally just a circle. So you could call me a loser, and so that would be someone's action towards us. That'll either reinforce or not reinforce my belief about myself being a loser. So once I have that reinforced belief that I'm a loser, then that influences my actions towards other people, and I'm gonna act in a way that is not necessarily loser-like, but that makes me more of a maybe less confident. So I act less confident. It impacts other people's belief about me. So they think I'm not confident. I'm kind of a loser, which causes them to say more mean things to me. And then that influences my belief even more. And it's literally a positive
cycle. Yeah. Whereas if somebody said, if my action towards if I made an action towards others and then they formed a belief that I was a loser, and then they told me that, yo, you're a loser, bro. And I laughed at them. You know what I'm saying? Because, and if there's anybody watching who thinks they're a loser because of somebody else's thoughts or actions, do you think, and remember, everything is a projection, right? So if they're trying to make you feel like a loser, why do you think they're doing that? Probably because they're a loser and they feel that way about themselves. So they're trying to make themselves feel better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that would actually fit into here perfectly because they think they're a loser. So that causes them to be mean towards others because they're trying to not have that status. So then they make someone else feel worse. And that's a good way to say that, hey, I'm not that bad. So obviously I'm not that bad of a loser. And then because that person would have the actions of, hey, this guy's obviously better than me, I'm going to treat him better. Will make him feel better about his loser status. And it just kind of passes it on to somebody else, which is
check it. It's almost like a figure 8 rather than a circle with 4 more points of every interaction is actually a figure 8, right? So it goes our actions, others' beliefs, others' actions towards and our beliefs. But then on the other side of it, that's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's either positive or negative, what you're saying.
Exactly. So it's just something to look at, something to think about.
Oh yeah. If we're done with outcomes and labeling, I do have another study that I had kind of looked into. All right, so this study is on the Pygmalion or Rosenthal effect. It is a psychological phenomenon where high expectations lead to improved performance in a given area. So Rosenthal and Jacobson held that high expectations lead to better performance and low expectations lead to worse. Both effects leading to a self-fulfilling prophecy. According to the Pygmalion effect, the targets of the expectations internalize their positive labels, and those with positive labels exceed accordingly, and a similar process works in the opposite direction in the case of low expectations. So my example here was like, imagine a teacher's reaction or ideas to an A student interrupting the class versus a student who gets Fs all the time interrupting the class. They're going to think the A student is just bored with class, while they might think the F student is just disrupted or something like that.
Being disrespectful.
Yeah, so the same thing could be presented, but because they have that label on the A student and they have no label on the F student, that's going to completely change the results. And, you know, having that poor expectation is going to make you do worse.
Right.
I know sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say, I know back in when we were playing basketball in high school, I used to do this shit all the time with Coach Mead. If he'd ever like do anything that make me feel stupid, I would act like a fucking fool. Just because I could, just because I already had I had nothing to lose at that point.
So now you're fulfilling that prophecy for him, you know?
Yeah. And
almost being like, oh, he expected me to act that way, and he responded like I'm an idiot, you know, so now I'm going to act it.
And the idea behind the Pygmalion Effect is that increasing the leader's expectation of the follower's performance will result in better follower performance. And this makes sense because of caveat emptor versus credat emptor. And this is something I learned in my professional ethics class. And basically what caveat emptor is buyer beware. So like the salesman has no obligation to sell you a good thing. And that happens a lot on things like Mercari or like eBay, where they'll say they're selling you like a PS5, you get like a PS3 and a PS2. Like that's what you end up with. But if it's if it's credat emptor, it's buyer have faith. So the salesman has an obligation, and that's when you go to like professionals. So like if you go to a doctor and they give you the wrong thing, like that's not your fault because you had faith that because he is a doctor that he will give you the right thing.
Right.
If you go to you go to the fucking the clinic behind Shell, you know, you can't be expecting the salesman to have the best obligation for you.
Right.
But in the case of like a teacher, like you're in a classroom, so obviously you have faith that the person teaching you has a better idea of what's going on than you do. So if they say that you are an F student and they treat you like one, then you're going to act like one, and it'll make more sense because the salesman has an obligation to tell you the truth.
I feel like I bring this specific effect in music, right? Because, and basketball too, obviously, I definitely related to that. But where I'm at right now with music is like, I'll release something and it'll either be up to standards or below standards or above standards, right? Yeah. And if it's low, if it's low standards to the listeners, that's almost good because that means they have higher expectations for me, and therefore I need to up what I'm doing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like if I released something that I knew was like subpar and everybody was like, yeah, like this, that would almost be like a worrisome thing for me, because it's like, are they really expecting that now?
Yeah, or like, what am I doing before that was not working so bad? Like it would, if that were to happen to me, I would be so confused, bro. Like,
right. And so you just gotta, you know, it's good to have high expectations for yourself, and it's good for others to have high expectations for you, because it usually leads to better performance, as the study shows.
Yeah. But it's also, I feel that it's important to remember caveat emptor versus credat, because you can't trust everyone's opinion. Everyone has an opinion.
Fact. And that's very true too. That is very true. But that's like me trusting somebody that's made music, that hasn't made music, versus somebody who's been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Lil Wayne versus some random dude off the street. Like, who are you gonna trust to judge your music?
Exactly. That's very fair. That's a very fair point.
I would say I thought this was a pretty good slide, but we're gonna have to move on. So the study for this was teachers' expectations on student performance. This is a classic study by Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson. It's the Pygmalion in the classroom, like we were just talking about. So what it was it involved elementary school teachers being told which of their students were likely to show significant intellectual growth based on a new test. The teachers were misled, however, because everyone who was supposed to be having intellectual growth was marked at random
Okay.
instead of actually being from the test. So at the end of the school year, another IQ test was administered, and the randomly marked students outpaced the IQ score increases of their classmates in a statistically significant way. The control group for all grade levels gained about 8 points between the two tests, while the treatment group gained about 12. So that's a 50% increase, which is, can you imagine 50% increase every year on something that you wanted? I wish.
Yeah, no, that's insane, dude. That is a really interesting study.
There are some problems with this study, but I want to hear what you have to say about it first.
Well, no, it's just, there's obviously, did the teacher put more time into the students that he or she thought were going to do better?
Yeah.
It's an aspect to consider, but still, like, say some kid's doing bad and the expectation was high, the teacher's obviously going to be like, yeah, what are you doing? Let's go.
Yeah. But if they have that low expectation, they're not going to even think it's wrong. They're going to think that, hey, at least they're trying it.
Exactly. At least they're in class,
And that's something, and this kind of exemplifies for like teaching, like how important teachers are, and like how important it is that your teachers aren't like fucking with your kids, because you could have literally the next Einstein, but if he's in a class with a teacher who thinks he's a dumbass, like he's not going to be able to flourish the way he should because of Credat Emptor, or was it Credat? Yeah, because of Credat Emptor, because he's going to think that the professional who would know is telling you you're stupid. So
right.
Obviously you're stupid. Like,
right. Do you remember seeing the video where the long-haired kid like cusses out his teacher and tells her that she's not doing it right, and like, you need to engage the class? I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
I haven't seen it,
but this kid was like, you could tell this kid was a genius, and he looked like somebody who wouldn't have been a genius.
Yeah, it looked a little uncouth.
Yeah, and like and that teacher was just like, you need to leave, and like, but clearly that kid has enough critical thinking to know that this isn't right.
Yeah.
And so he's got that. To his professional, he's not, but to a lot of people, that kid was a genius, because he said a lot of stuff that was important about the education system while getting in trouble, knowingly getting in trouble. He was just cussing out the teacher and giving her the shits because she's sitting there not doing anything, not engaging her students.
And well, with that said, I kind of want to get into the criticisms of the study. Let me move this over here. I'll put it here. Great. So educational psychologist Robert L. Thorndike questioned the credibility of the IQ test used in the Pygmalion study. The main reason why he questioned it was because the average score of one of the regular classes was in the mentally disabled range, which is highly unlikely in a garden variety school. Thorndike concluded that the Pygmalion findings were worthless, and it's more likely that the rise in IQ scores from the mentally disabled range was from the results of regression to the mean, not the teacher's expectations or self-fulfilling prophecies. I have an explanation of what regression to the mean is, and it's kind of exemplified in this picture here. So in statistics, regression to the mean or reversion to mediocrity is a phenomenon that arises if a sample point of a random variable is extreme, a future point is likely to be closer to the mean or average. So for the example of having a class score in the mentally disabled range, you'd be like right here. So if you look at it like this, what are the odds that you're going to get another thing that's going to be right here? Just based off like the distribution here. You're more likely to end up in the middle than you are to end up at an extreme. So that means that because your first sample is extreme, the next sample has to be closer to the mean. Like if you have a distribution of 100 numbers and your first number you get is 99, what are the odds that the next number you get is going to be bigger than 99?
1%.
Right. So like then like the next thing you get is obviously going to be worse than what you got now. So it's going to regress back to the mean of what the distribution is.
Right.
If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well.
No, you're right. I mean, it's more likely because the occurrences is the highest in the middle, because that's what the garden variety classroom is supposed to look like. And so for the test scores to be over there, it'd be rare. So then obviously it was a fluke.
Yeah.
And, afterwards it was just them going back to the middle. It makes sense. You explained it right.
All right, cool. Because sometimes when I'm explaining shit, I know I like get ahead of myself sometimes and I say some shit that doesn't really add up in the moment, but I just want to make sure it's making sense right now. What else happened? So another thing that I didn't put on here because I didn't have space in the picture, but another criticism was that after about 2 weeks, the teachers would know just from being around the kids who was supposed to have that boost and who wasn't, just from being around the kids. Like the teacher would know that. I thought that was a pretty big one because, you could have someone say, oh, he's about to be a genius, but then the kid acts like a dumbass and no one's going to believe that, especially not someone who is like dealing with it daily. So to avoid making incorrect inferences, regression towards the mean must be considered when designing scientific experiments and interpreting data. And because of that, Thorndike believed that the Pygmalion effect was not real.
Interesting. But you never know.
Yeah, you never, like, that's the thing is like, this study was bad, but it hasn't really been repeated again because everyone thinks the study was bad.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for the criticism part?
Other than, the teachers being like, giving extra attention to the kids they thought might, were supposed to improve that much and grow. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, that's the end of. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna finish off a thought, but it doesn't even matter.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. I need to stop the screen share. I want.
Hey, I can see me again.
Speaker view. Close this out. All right, perfect. All right, so what did you think of the presentation overall? Any feedback or comments?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty good presentation. I think, I think you and I did a good job of connecting things to things that people are gonna, relate to more or understand more, that mental health, that sports, that stuff like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I think you did a good job explaining everything and it all made sense to me. So, good job.
Thank you. Hell yeah. Well, if you like this kind of content and if you made it to the end of this, you probably like it. Please like and subscribe and comment. I would love to hear everyone's take on this. I think this is a great topic, and I think that it would have really far-reaching consequences if people really took this to heart and really kind of evaluated their lives in a way that like made it so that the bad self-fulfilling prophecies they can get rid of, and then the good ones they can kind of reinforce a little bit more. But anyway, thank you for coming on, Riley. I thought we had a great discussion. I thought that we had better episodes for sure. Everyone in the audience, thanks for watching, and then please have a good night. Peace out. Yeah.